Welcome to Career Insights. The Career Insight series features local industry professionals engaged in conversation with students and recent graduates about career planning and job opportunities in Polk County, Florida.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Construction Career Lunch and Learn. My name is Laura Webster. I'm a Career Academy coach. I'm also joined by my two colleagues from the District Office Workforce Education Office, Joy Thompson and Leslie Green. So without further ado.
For your construction, Gary.
So happy to have this opportunity and everybody that has spoken already. I really enjoy, even though I know a lot of what they're saying, like it's so good to hear it again. It's so important to our trade and our industry. You know, you talk about soft skills, you talk about hard skills, but I think the big takeaway, there's several takeaways here, right? But in listening to all these guys, I was kind of thinking, there's really no clear one clear path on how to get to success in the construction industry. And it's a vast industry, right? You know, there's home building, there's commercial, so there's residential, there's commercial, but there's trade related stuff, there's management related stuff, and there's all kinds of ways and inroads to be part of this big industry and be successful. And there's no like one way. So to all the students out there who think that, oh, you know, I don't know if this has application and I can be like one of those people. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. So with that, I wanted to talk a little bit about Boyer Building Corporation. I'm the owner and founder and president of Boyer Building Corporation. My name's Gary Boyer. I came up a little differently. We didn't have a whole lot either, like David had mentioned earlier. Growing up, you know, I had four kids in the family and the parents, you know, just wasn't a lot to go around. I ended up having mediocre grades throughout high school just because mostly I wasn't challenged or didn't have a focus, right? Ended up going to school at UF. After being undecided for a little bit, I chose to go into construction management. So I got a 4-year degree in construction management at the University of Florida. And, you know, just was always kind of told that you should probably go get a degree and, you know, help you be successful. I mean, that was largely, you know, it was just people nudging me to go that way. So I did that and graduated and worked 2 years over in the southwest portion of the state. Actually, the one that just got obliterated. I worked on Fort Myers Beach on a wastewater treatment plant for 2 years. And I found it fascinating because I didn't really know much at all about wastewater treatment plant, but I was blown away at the technology and the investment that goes into handling water. It's just amazing. But that's another story. 2 years later, that company closed down, and they were bought by a parent company a while back, and they didn't feel it was profitable, so they shut the whole thing down. So I threw my resume out nationwide. I got picked up out in Southern California by Hensel Phelps Construction Company, who now has an Orlando office now, but back then they didn't. I worked 4 years out there building some very large projects, you know, $65 million student residences for the UCLA campus out there in Westwood, California, near Santa Monica and so forth. Built some hospitals out in the desert, did a variety of different projects. That's the great thing about general contracting is, you know, you just get exposed to so many different variations of construction. And then my oldest daughter was born out there. My first daughter was born out there. And then we kind of moved back to Florida because I'm a native Floridian. And we just felt like we needed to get closer to our roots. So I settled in Central Florida and in Polk County. So worked with another construction company called Wellbro Building Corporation for 8 years and built, at the time, 3 of the largest hotels on International Drive, you know, as a, you know, project coordinator, project manager, senior project manager, and, you know, multiple guest rooms and convention centers and so forth. Did a little pre-construction and estimating, and then 9/11 hits, right? And, you know, that just stalled everything. Like nobody knew what was going to happen. And so I found myself on the business end of a layoff after like 4 rounds of layoffs. I got shuttled, and it was a surprise, to say the least, not to say the least. And so, you know, I realized that I can always go back and do what I've always done, which is work for other people. But I said, I have my general contractor's license now. It's inactive, right, at that time. It had been inactive for like 4 or 5 years. And I said, I can always go back and work for other people, but I don't want to turn 65 years old someday and wonder if I could have started my own business. So I used that nudge that 9/11 provided in the layoff and started my own company called Boyer Building Corporation. And so we're currently celebrating our 20th anniversary in business. We have a lot of long-term employees that have been with us for the duration. My first employee I ever hired is currently still with us. We started small and kind of grew gradually, kind of organically. I still get that itch to go out and build a $55 million hotel and convention center occasionally, but when I think about everything that's involved in that, I kind of let that go, and I'm perfectly happy with all the variety and the things that we're doing. So then about 4.5 years ago, I realized that I wanted to have more of an equity role and be more in the development side as well as the construction, general contracting. So I started 429 Incorporated, which is a development company that I own as well. And I'm going to show you a video here shortly about that towards the end. And I decided that I went out and bought a piece of property, went out and built a 55,000 square foot commercial office building in Ocoee, and just down the street from Warden Smith's brand new city hall for the city of Ocoee. And now we lease to ourselves as tenants, which is nice. And we are 92% leased in the building, most of which came in the last literally 12 months. The COVID was very difficult, right? We finished the building just before all the shutdowns, and that kind of stuff. And we had a very long stretch where we didn't have a lot of activity with tenants, but they all came roaring back and all the rates went up and reset. So we're in the construction end, commercial construction. We're in the commercial development side. And we've been very involved with, I live in Polk County. I've lived in Polk County for goodness, 27, 28 years now. Wow. And we've been involved in internships. We've done externships with teachers, and we love giving back. We are very involved in a lot of charities, do a lot of Marriott work, Disney work. We are what I call a true general contractor, in that we have our own workforce. We have carpenters, laborers. We do demolition. We do some of the other trades like painting and whatnot on a smaller scale. With our building that we have now, we're actually building out. Not only do we build the building ourselves with our own team, but we also are building out the individual suites for each of the new tenants that sign leases and so forth. So it's kind of been this very symbiotic relationship, having the development need and having the construction team that can actually do that work and so forth. So to the students that are on this broadcast here, I would say, the best thing I could impart on you is to be a sponge. Okay. So there's no such thing as a bad experience in things that you do. There may be crappy work that you just don't like to do, and like digging a ditch, or there might be things that are unpleasant, or you may perceive that makes you seem less than everybody else. But there's no bad experience. You learn from everything that you touch, everything you say, everything you hear. So the more times that you put yourself in that situation, any situation is never a bad thing. You may decide you don't want to do that for a living, but at least you know how to do it. And at least you have the perspective of what that is. And it's much easier to teach something that you've done a couple times yourself, even though you don't like it, than to just hypothesize what it's like to do that, right? So gain knowledge, right? So I could have just I could have just rested on my construction side, right, and been fine. But I decided to let's roll the dice and let's go into construction development. Let's go build a building. Let's go build a building for ourselves after having built buildings for others for the last 25 plus years, right? So I'm like, why don't we just do it for ourselves? And we are doing it for ourselves. We're still doing it for others, but now I get to do it for myself. So, you know, I wouldn't say that I'm the smartest guy in the room, but I will tell you that I'm pretty good at application of knowledge. So the second thing that I would tell you is try to be good at applying the knowledge that you have, right? Now y'all hear about the people that go to universities and colleges and get all these degrees, right? They got 6, 7 degrees. Oh, they're brilliant, but they can't even tie the damn shoe, and they certainly can't do some of the common sense stuff that you just roll your eyes like, well, why can't he do that? He's got all these degrees, right? So you have those people, right? Those people have a ton of knowledge, are extremely brilliant, but they don't really apply their knowledge, right? It's just sitting there. It's like this huge unused asset, right? So it doesn't really matter. What I'm telling you is it doesn't really matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter if you have a construction degree in management or any kind of bachelor's degree or a master's degree. Some elements of construction certainly be beneficial, but it's not required typically. The way you absorb knowledge and your application of that knowledge will dictate most of your success in life, guarantee you. And if you have a good attitude and you make yourself presentable and you can communicate, you heard shaking hands, giving a firm handshake, look somebody in the eye, be clear-minded and be focused on what you're doing. Leave the phone on your desk, leave the phone in your pocket. Don't be pulling that out in the middle of conversations, and engage, right? Be a sponge, pull that information out. And then I assure you that every day you're not going to realize how valuable that information is. Someday all this information is going to kind of come together in the right moment. And you're going to say, I've been doing this for a while. Maybe I'll go start my own construction company, and literally that's how it happened with me, right? Like I had these little inklings along the way, like, man, I hate this stuff. This is what a crappy day. I'm going to start my own company, but I wasn't ready, right? But one day you get the nudge, you're like, no, I've been listening. I've been paying attention and so forth. And all the guys and all the ladies that are talking to you today, I guarantee you got to where they are today because they paid attention, they absorbed, and then they applied it, right? So application of knowledge is huge. It's huge for real success, right? Like, I'm not saying you can't show up at Chick-fil-A and just kind of coast through the day and get your, well, it used to be $9 or $10 an hour, is now like 14 or 15, but that's not real success, guys and girls. It's, if you want to build a career, you need to engage and apply knowledge. I want to talk about dispute resolution too. If you look around at some of the stupid stuff that takes place, and somebody get mad at somebody in some parking lot and pulled out a bat or a gun, and I'm like, what kind of dispute resolution is that, right? So that's on the violent side, which I don't want to dwell too much on that. But it all comes down to they just don't have dispute resolution skills. But you're going to have disputes in everything that you do. Okay, it could be with your landlord, could be with your employees, it could be with your employer, right? So your ability to kind of just frame the conversation, express yourself. Oh, look, communication. We're talking about day game, aren't we? So having good communication skills. Say, hey, Mr. Landlord, Miss Landlord, I don't think that's fair. You're doing this. You're doing. Express yourself. Find a way to resolve disputes. And people, you're always going to have problems somewhere. It's the way you deal with problems that kind of builds the character and means a lot more. People notice about you than the fact that you had a problem at all. You're going to have problems. How do you handle those problems? What's the character like when you do that? So, very important, dispute resolution. Being detail oriented in construction is extremely important. I can't tell you how many times a delivery came in, we expected it to be something. It sits in a box for a week or two in the back room. And then we need it, we open it up, we find out that it's nothing like what we thought it was going to be, right? So I was saying in our company, I picked up along the way many, many years ago, and it's this: you get what you inspect, not what you expect. Okay, so think about that for a moment. When that box came in our back office that nobody looked at, nobody opened, nobody inspected, we expected it to be a microwave oven, right? When in reality, it was a warming drawer for a whole nother project completely, you know? And it said it right in the box if anybody would have looked at it, right? But if we just opened it, looked at it, taken a picture of it, known that it was the right model, that it was a gas version and not an electric version, then what we expected later on would have come true because we inspected it, right? Very, very important. So you don't look at something and you just assume. Well, we know what the ASSUME, right? Make an ass out of you and me, right? You've all heard that before. But you get what you inspect, not what you expect. Very important. This is a fantastic industry to be a part of, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I'm one of those few people that actually went to school for something, and some 30-something years later, I'm still in the same industry, and it's rewarding. It's never boring. That's our commercial office building, our first delve into commercial development, if you will. And it was a pretty ambitious thing that we did. It was probably a little bigger than most people would do on their first try. It's a 55,000 square foot building. We're 83% leased. It's so exciting to learn a whole bunch of stuff over a couple of decades and then get an opportunity to apply it. And well, look, we're back to application of knowledge again, right? So it's just very rewarding. And, I encourage you guys to reach out to us at Boyer Building Corporation. We have an office in Polk City. We have an office in Ocoee, Florida. Reach out to me at Gary Boyer. Be happy to talk with you. We have internships available. And if you have the right attitude and you're not afraid to apply yourself, I can promise you there's a fantastic career waiting for you. So good luck. Thank you. And love to give you all a tour. So if y'all want to see the real thing, come on over, give me a shout.
I'm going to just thank all the presenters for giving us your time and the schools for attending.
Thank you everyone for being here and sharing such good information.
Good to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope to see the students at our open houses.